recording now. I just wanted to welcome everybody to our Monday night client mastermind. Thank you so much for spending the next hour with me, and I hope to enlighten you guys for the next hour with some new fresh content and some new observations that I wanted to share. So let me just make sure I mute everybody. So what I'd like to do is, not that I'm stepping away from some of the TIR content, but I kind of just want to bring us back to some basics, and then I had something to share that deeply impacted me that wasn't, but having been TIR, I think that it allowed me to digest it in a way that allowed me to look back into the past and things that I didn't quite understand or wasn't at a level of awareness that now made sense, that I felt, impart some wisdom on you guys. And then obviously, the first half an hour of this is going to be, me talking, and I want to open it up for discussion because it's important to hear feedback from you guys that this is going to stimulate questions and ideas. And this is all where we kind of come together because, again, one of the things I remind us is why do we come onto this mastermind is because, we're of the 1%, not a lot of people come together in mastermind. They're just kind of doing their own little things, same thing every day around the same people, never really questioning anything. You kind of want to come to a group where you feel comfortable talking about this stuff. Some people look at you crazy when you start talking about these big lavish goals and some things that you might be struggling with that you just I don't even know who I can talk to who would understand me. So we, as your coaches, Ryan and I, we understand Madison as well. We understand you guys, and we speak that language. We speak awareness. We speak frequencies, vibrations. So one of the things that that struck me is, as I was listening to, I'll share the video and the guru that it was that I was following, is it really just reminded me is when we're listening to TIR in those videos, what we're really doing is we're connecting to the frequency of, like I said, the energy that even Bob was in when he created those. He's speaking sounds and vibrations, and they're hitting our consciousness, and they're kind of getting into that subconscious. And like I said, that's why we'd have that space repetition of content. And like I said, this video series that I was listening to just had a real deep impact on me. And like I said, it made me bring back some deeper truths I'd come to that I wanted to share. So one of the things is that we all have to realize that there's no finish line in personal development. So for you guys to kind of think that, you have these big goals and that you have 6 months to achieve them is kind of, I wouldn't want to say unrealistic, but we have to realize that if all you get out of these first 6 months is just really to just change some of these deep-rooted beliefs, because some of them you're going to realize are really in there deep. And like I said, after I listened to this series, it made me realize how deeply programmed, going to church for the first 20 years of my life, not knowing why, or there's stuff going into my head, and all these rules that these social constructs I was following really kind of messed me up a little bit, but then I never really questioned them. But now I'm 30 years old, and I'm kind of like, why did I do that? Why do we do that? Why did my mom say I had to do that? And I listened. So it just, again, really deep stuff. But it just wanted to remind you guys that if you guys don't hit your goals, or you don't, you create all these type goals, these things are going to take time. And it took you, I'm 30 years old. It took me 30 years to get where I am today. You know what I mean? And it's it could take me another 30 years to get where I ideally want to be. But I think one of the things that I catch myself doing is, Brian's a lot more centered and just, you guys did a dose of him every week. He's got this content a lot longer than me. And like I said, I kind of struggle through it. And I think you guys are kind of more at my levels. You kind of struggle through it, and that's necessary. We realize how strong pain is in stimulating growth. It's necessary. You don't go to the gym and pick up light weights and expect to grow big muscles. So we need that stimulus of pain. And like I said, sometimes we don't want to face pain because it hurts, and we want to avoid pain. That's what we've been conditioned to do. But when you can face the pain, face what's hard, face what sucks, that's what's going to change you. That's what's going to create an emotional impact. And like I said, I've had my fair share of terror barriers, if you want to call it that. But just, facing the things that make you want to shift as much as they suck. But again, just getting back to the point that you guys are going to be students the rest of your lives. So am I. So is Bob. And that it's okay if you don't arrive in the first 6 months. What you guys are really doing here is becoming good students. You're creating a habit of spending an hour a day on yourself, because it's more than what most people do. And as you guys will realize, it's hard at first to spend an hour a day watching 2 videos, doing certain worksheets. Like, it's hard. It's so simple, yet it's so hard to condition ourselves to do that, because we have excuses, we have paradigms, we have all this bad broken programming that we have to undo that damage, and it takes time. You know, and as much as we wish we could snap our fingers and have what we want, you know, it's unrealistic. And I just want you guys to be patient with yourselves and patient with the content, and not be so quick to say, well, oh, I didn't get it, or I didn't, you know, do what I wanted to do in 6 months. It doesn't work, or what's wrong with me. That just try to enjoy the process. Like I said, it took me almost 2 years I've been at this for me to really feel that way and have that inner calm, where I've just been so like brute force. I'm gonna get this goal, I'm gonna sacrifice everything and just completely crash and burn doing it. It was not the best way. But that's the thing, is, you know, I just have to like live on top of creating us a life we desire, that is the destination, but like enjoying the journey and being okay with not having it yet physically, but yet still emotionally enjoying it along the way, because we know it's coming. You know what I'm saying? So I just want you to realize that, like I said, you guys are going to be students forever, and that what is TIR really for is to really create that foundation for you guys to get to a higher level of awareness, because you guys are going to take more courses, you're going to read more books. TIR is not everything. It's not the be all end all, because like we don't even really talk about the ego in TIR. But I'm going to go a little bit into what I learned about the ego and this inner child and some of the other deep emotional stuff. But without having known TIR, it probably wouldn't have made much sense to me, because I went the first 30 years of my life not knowing what a subconscious mind was, or that I even had one. So like really opened my eyes. And like I said, this is just opening Pandora's box. You know, there's so many more books out there. There's so many different perspectives. And it's like, you think you know something, but then you really don't. You know, and that's why we need that repetition, and we need to constantly expose ourselves and constantly, like I said, be that student and realize that you don't just arrive. There's you reach a goal, and then you look for what's next or what's bigger, or you know, how much money is enough money. Is like you have like a line that you draw. But so that's kind of really where I just again wanted to remind you guys, don't get discouraged, because it's easy to do that. But that's the whole point of being here, is developing that higher level awareness to be okay with not having it physically, but having it emotionally, and holding that picture on your mind. Because again, our mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and imagined. So why wouldn't we practice the visualization piece? You know, it's just so hard, yet it's so simple. But I don't want to keep saying it's hard, because it shouldn't be. But again, we all are at different experiences in our lives. And I just want you guys to know that you're not alone, and that this can be difficult. And it's not always pleasant. It's not always roses and everything, and that we just get what we want. We have to fight for it sometimes, you know, but it's worth the fight. So one of the things that I wanted to share is this video series I watched was one of my, like, you know, I'd say this like top 5, you know, like Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, you know, Wayne Dyer. I would say that one of my top 5 is Paul Chek, Paulchek, and he's kind of like a mind body health and fitness. You know, he's probably in his 70s, but he's like super fit. He knows a lot of wisdom, like how you know, Tai Chi, yoga. Like, he's a bodybuilder, but he also knows a lot about spirituality. And like whenever I like first listened to him, I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. Just like when I listened to him, I was like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I was searching through his videos, and I really just was seeking something meaning go to Paul Chek, write it down, listen to Paul Chek when I'm driving, because I need something good, something different, something not so hardcore, you know. And so I listened to this video series called it's called let me just mute. It's called 10 Commandments or Spirituality, You Choose. And what he's really doing is he starts off the first 3 videos really breaking down what love really is. And I've always kind of had this preoccupation with like what love is, and you know, going deeper into it. But he said like love is like a code. I mean, I'm not going to divulge everything he said, but he kind of breaks down like the 10 Commandments. He breaks down like the Indian Cherokee commandments, and then like atheist commandments. He talks about like love with conditions, and is that a condition, or is it an empathy and compassionate kind of love, or is it a violent kind of love? And it really just struck me, because I'm just like, wow, I was like, I really wish I would have had this in my teens, where I probably would have like really understood love. No one teaches us what love is or how to love or how to be. You know, we just kind of, everything that we've seen in our lives, the way we act is because we've seen someone else do it. It's become programmed whether we know it or not. So now I'm starting to see, where did I get programmed and why? You know, and what information is going to help me change this. Because after I listened to this video, I just felt so enlightened. And I was just like, wow, I feel so calm and I feel like aware. And I was like, wow, that was so good. It was like food for the soul. You know, so I was like, I highly recommend you guys, you know, check it out. It's called, again, 10 Commandments or Spirituality. There's 14 videos. They're about 10 minutes a piece by Paul Chek. And like I said, I'd binge watch the rest of his videos if you have time. But again, what it did, it made me question a lot of deep-rooted beliefs that I've had. And like I said, Bob says, what is a belief? It's our evaluation of something. And when we change our evaluation of something, our beliefs can change. And literally, we see our eyes in, you know, our eyes in the lens of our souls is through our beliefs. You know, because when we've judged something or we believe something, we only look to see evidence to support what we've deemed as truth, as fact. You know, whether it's religious, political, you know, just whatever. But I just kind of want to go down some of the notes, and like I said, what really impacted me is just the power of when I connected to this video and I was truly listening to it. Because remember, we hear with our ears, that's an organ of interpreting sound, but we listen with our emotions. So when I really deeply connected to this, and I wasn't distracted, I was just kind of, you know, driving most of the time, but just really listening is like, I would pause a video and I would write down a thought that came to my mind. That's an idea. You know, and again, what is a paradigm? It's a collection of ideas, you know, and they're fixed ideas in our subconscious mind that we act upon without any conscious thoughts. Like I said, ideas, when we get emotionally involved with them, that's how we create that deep emotional impact, that shift. So that's the other way to change a paradigm. Constant spaced repetition, and then deep emotional impact. So even just watching these videos once created an emotional impact in me, and I probably want to go watch them again. But I just want to kind of go down the list of the thoughts that just kind of came to my mind, and like I said, how very powerful that activity is. And again, ultimately created a deep shift is ultimately kind of made me ask, like, what is my deeper purpose? You know, and I saw Brian in our MMA group talking about like how when you don't have goals, you kind of like are going through life, like, again, without a ship with no captain. There's no map. You're just kind of meandering the sea and you kind of are lost. You don't have a purpose. And I think that what gets you out of bed every morning is a sense of purpose. Whatever it is you're going for, if it's your kids or, you know, your job, like you have to get out of bed. But it's like, and I told Brian, I was like, you know, if I'm gonna have to do a job, it's like, instead of just kind of dreading it, is I might as well find something I like about it if I have to do it every day, you know, or until something gets better. Is like, until you got better, like, learn to love what you got. That's maturity, you know. So for me, it's like, who are we and why are we here? It's like, we're in this universe, and we kind of are born into this world, and we're dying every day, and we eventually die, and then where do we go? It's kind of like made me question that, whereas most people like never give it a second thought, you know. And like in, you know, this universe, like I said, I wasn't born into spirituality, I was born into being a Christian, you know. So I never really thought outside the box. But one of the things that led me to a revelation is like, why do we suffer? And I think that it's being attached to an outcome. Like when you're in sales, if you're attached to that person saying yes and they don't, you let yourself down, you set yourself up with that expectation. So where in other areas of our life do we do that? Do we set ourselves up to suffer? In relationships where we expect somebody to do something without communicating that that's what we would like, and they fail to meet that expectation. Or like I said, it's a job that we want and we didn't get it, and then we're upset. So it's being attached to an outcome, or like I said, you're attached to this goal you want to have as a condition to feeling better or being successful or validating that you're worthy of that goal. Whereas like if you disconnected from the need to have it and just like let go and let God, as Bob talks about in his book, You Were Born Rich, which I highly recommend you guys read. It took me, you know, 2 years to read that book. I actually was on a plane ride recently, and I read The Art of Living in almost the first, you know, 3 hours of the plane ride. And it was like, again, been in this content a while, but it just reminded me to some of the truths that I know, heard of, but have kind of forgotten. But it just, again, underlined, took some notes, had some good revelations there as well. So moving on is that if you guys see yourselves as being attached to an outcome and you're suffering because of it, then learn to detach. hard, simple, but it's not easy, but it's necessary. If you don't want to make yourself miserable because you can't detach from the outcome, albeit good or bad, it's necessary for the evolution of your soul. So again, it's your perspective. Perception, again, that other higher mental faculty, perception. What is your perception of not getting it, And then what do we do? The next bullet point I wrote down is mastery of oneself is the highest level of awareness. Being self-mastery is like, what does that even mean? What does it mean to master oneself? Or how do we know when we've mastered oneself to cross the finish line? We never really do, even though that's the highest level of awareness there is self-mastery. But I think you kind of just feel it. You just know, like, am I there yet? Have I reached a certain level where like I'm in control, where like some bad stimulus happens and I can kind of step back and not react, but just respond and stay in control, or like shit's gonna happen. And worrying about it isn't going to stop it from happening, but can I control myself and contain myself? So that just made me, wonder, like when we talk about this self-mastery, mastering my mind, it's like, what does that even mean? It means something different for everybody, probably. Now, one of the other things that he was talking about that really, and I think this was actually in the Art of Living book or it was actually, Bob talks about it in the Art of Living book, Paul Chek also talked about it. He said circulation is the law of the universe. Like things circulate, blood circulates through our system, life flows, air flows in, air flows out. But like when things can't circulate, they get stuck and it can't flow. And then like these natural laws of the universe, when we violate them, we suffer because they govern our world. You don't hurt other people, or you get hurt. It's karma. But this whole concept of circulation, even with money, the spirit of opulence is that we are distribution centers. Money comes in, money goes out, and money isn't have any value until you spend it. If it's just sitting there in a piggy bank, it has no real value. It has, we place a certain value on the amount of it, but again, the universe doesn't know how much is a lot of money or is a little bit of money. That's your perception. You place those conditions on the money. Money is just energy. And we can attract more money if we're in harmony with the vibration of abundance. If we're not, we're going to suffer. Because again, that's another law of the universe, the law of compensation. So it just kind of made me reflect on this concept of circulation, is that sometimes when you feel stuck, you kind of, or like even your body, when we get stressed, we tense, we constrict. When we relax, we let things flow. So like for me, that analogy is like I said, a pattern I've caught myself doing is that I'm kind of in a chaotic vibration, though I'm not quite aware of it, because like I need to, I want to, I have to have, I go and grind and work and just, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm 100% committed, but yet I drive myself into the ground. So it comes at a cost. It's like I wanted to work better of like relaxing my way to the goal. Like that's kind of what Bob would do is be able to be self-composed, but yet, like I said, detached from the outcome of having to have, because when you need something, want something, you're going to be in a state of needing and wanting. And that's what energy you're putting out, so that's energy you're going to get back. So if you kind of like, just if you take one nugget away, is like I said, when you're tense, when you're stressed, stop in a present moment and just relax your body. Like even in Psycho-Cybernetics, Brian's reading that book, I think for the second time. I read it once, and it talks about like when your body is physically relaxed, you can't feel stress. It's kind of impossible. But like when you're stressed, you usually kind of tense and you constrict, and so you can't be creative under stressful, tense conditions. So that's why for me, it was like when you quiet the mind, when you meditate, that's when things flow. That's why like for me, it's like I've been saying I want to meditate for so long, and it's just like it's so hard to make a habit of that. But I'm going to talk in the end of this, I'm going to give you a recommended reading about creating a habit that it's so easy you can't not do it. So that's something I'll get to at the end. But the other thing I talk about is like we suffer in relationships when we don't allow, but when we possess somebody, when we expect them to serve us. That's not love. That's loving with condition. But unconditional love is loving for the sake of loving without expecting anything in return, or that somebody acts a certain way to suit you. You know what I mean? So it's like a really highly evolved version, because I realized in my past relationships, I've been very possessive. Like me, my, what I want to get, because I've been so in my own head. I didn't have that awareness to think intellectual objectivity. which you guys don't hear about in TIR. That's more like down the line and leave the field. But that's what you're really developing here, is the ability to step outside yourself and look at yourself objectively and say, you know, do I want to do that? And think, you know, literally use that intellectual faculty of reason to think. Remember, most of us don't think, and we're not thinking, and that's why we don't do what we need to do, and we have that knowing doing gap, and we have paradigms and stuff, broken programming. So we're here to clear that damage so that we can then rebuild, like I said, that habit of being a good student, good habits. Because if you can't do that 1 hour a day, it's like, forget about anything else. We have to earn that by being good students to develop the study and allow that to get in, to sink. You know what I'm saying? So, now, one of the other things too is a theme that really hit me. So we were talking about like love, it's like communication. Is like, do we even really know how to effectively communicate? Were we taught how to communicate our needs or anything for that matter? Is like, that's another skill that, you know, we never really talk about in TIR, but it's huge for us to interact with other human beings, is to communicate, to help other people understand. And what is understanding? It's being able to resonate and see one's perspective, to empathize. But like I said, we have to be able to feel like we can communicate. And like, one of the coolest things he talks about is like, he says like, the commandment, thou shalt not lie or bear false witness against thy neighbor, is he says, well, a lot of people lie because they feel like it's not safe to tell the truth. So if you just bash somebody for lying, but you don't ask them, why did you lie? Why didn't you feel like you could tell me the truth? Then you can say, well, I understand that, but it doesn't make it right. Or he said, like, when he talks about like murder is wrong, like thou shalt not kill, and he's like, well, you murder animals, so where do you draw the line where murder is okay and it's not okay? Or like, you know, or there was another example, like stealing, thou shalt not steal, is like, well, what if you're gonna die and you need food to eat? Do you just die because like, I don't want to break that commandment, thou shalt not steal, I don't want to go to hell because I'm gonna steal something? So again, he says there's like circumstances that make exceptions to those rules, so they always have to like come with exceptions. But every commandment he talks about was like a condition, and then he talks about like what God really is. So if you really want to go deep into religious philosophies, like I said, it'll really cook your noodle. So that was kind of an interesting thing, is getting on with learning how to think and how to feel. Is that it's like, if you ever seen the movie Avatar, it's almost like we were born into this body, but we were never taught how to use it. You know, our heart pumps, our lungs breathe. There's so many things that are on autonomic nervous system, autopilot, and yet our mind is one of them. But like I said, we have this amazing mind. You know, I'm sure that you guys have all used your imagination when you were a kid, but he talks about how like we were born in the eyes of God and our parents beat it out of us, for lack of a better word, because they didn't know any better. They were just doing what their parents did. He said, you know, you're always supposed to respect your elders, honor your mother and father, but like most of the time the bad programming is passed down generation to generation. So it's like me, I feel like I've broken the mold in my family because like I've been the one that's like stood back and like I see everybody standing still and living the same life, getting the same results. Whereas like for me, is like I'm always constantly striving for self-betterment. And no one had to tell me to do that. It's just I've been like that since I was a kid. But it just dawned on me that, like I said, we're literally like a vehicle, and you have all these little, like, you know, if you were to sit in a plane right now, besides Brian or Ray that have had pilot experiences, like you look at all those components, like what the hell is all that stuff? So like that's what kind of our mind is it's this mechanism that we have no idea how to use. You know, we're kind of instinctual. Like animals can feel certain things, but they don't have consciousness. But like we have to realize, like, we just started learning how to drive this vehicle, and it takes a little bit of time to get used to that. So like I said, in these first 6 to 12 months of TIR, you're really just building this foundation. So although you have defined these goals, you don't get them in those 6 to 12 months. It's okay. Like, you're just starting out. Don't like set yourself up for disappointment by expecting something too quick, because that's the fastest way to disappointment. Like I said, law of gender, we never really know how much time it's going to take. So we have to be realistic with expecting that the universe knows the best time. It has our best interest in mind, and it's just responding to us. Okay, nobody's punishing you. It's not this omnipotent God that's, you know, gonna cast you to hell, whatever you want to believe. But you know, that's kind of what I wanted to kind of bring back is I feel like, and what he touched upon is when we are born, we're taught to suppress this imagination. We reject spirit, we reject emotion. Like when we see people who are emotional or spiritual, we're kind of like, that's weird. But like, I think you guys are starting to realize, like, no, it's not weird, it's the truth. What is emotion? Energy and motion. So it's really powerful. Just like thinking about these things, and like I said, realizing that once you think you know something is like when you pierce a deeper level, you're like, wow, it brings you back to what you once thought was truth, and you're like, wow, like I'm okay now questioning my beliefs, whereas before there was so much confirmation bias where like anything that went against your deep-rooted beliefs you rejected because you're like, no, that's not right. But now I'm kind of like, well, I'm starting to kind of unravel and undo that programming, and it's okay, and I feel okay because I don't have somebody telling me what's right or what's wrong. I'm following my truth, so you guys gotta follow your truth, right? And then this is where we're gonna go into the next bullet point is talking about the ego is like a child. It's whiny and it's needy, and your ego does not want you to be wrong. So that's the thing is, how many times do you see people that can like admit fault or when they were wrong? It's like they're disconnecting from their ego. And like I said, if you ever want to learn more about the ego, I can share some articles. But like again, we never learn how to control it, and what we don't control controls us. So when your mind is out of control, it's controlling you. Or he talks about like what is being neurotic. When you say someone's neurotic, it's because they're out of harmony. They have neuroses, and like I said, sometimes that can be a chemical imbalance, but a lot of times it's just this harmony. You're not in sync. You're not aligned, and like I said, everything in this universe operates by frequencies and vibration. You need only to align yourself in harmony with the vibration of what you desire. So like for me, I've been writing in my gratitude journal daily, as I recommend you guys do, and I've been just saying, like I'm a vibrational match for what I desire, and I kind of, as I'm writing, again, it's stimulating thinking, creating the image, and then therefore. But I know that I need to spend like time in the morning, like just being quieting this mind, because if you're in such do mode, you never like stop and just think and reflect and be calm. Like I think calm is a superpower. It really is. Now the other thing too is like, I'm not blaming my parents, because I said they raised me the way they were raised, and they were raised, very religious. So like I was raised with religious philosophies about, these 10 commandments and these rules, and like I said, they created these deep beliefs that I started operating from. And like I said, I didn't really realize that, but then I started to like become an adult and started to reject those. But then like I felt like I was dishonoring my parents, and that wasn't cool. Nobody wants to, dishonor your parents, but be like a rebel child or whatever. But I think that one of the other things is that you can tend to develop an unhealthy relationship with money going through TIR, is because like again you see what your parents grew up doing, and like you have all these things like telling you can do this, and you're like, really, can I? Do I have the confidence? I believe that. Can I have faith? But I think, like again, it's how do you know like when enough's enough, or when you feel like you're now wealthy or you're rich? Like where's that line that you draw? And it's just kind of funny, and especially to an extremist like myself, it's almost like money became a drug to me, and it was almost like when I didn't have it, you just want more of it, and when you have more, it's never enough. So it's like you've got to kind of have that idea in your mind of like the lifestyle you want to create, and the kind of money you want to and need to have. And that it's like, again, there's really no finish line there. So just be careful not to develop an unhealthy relationship with money where you're focusing more on the lack of it than the abundance. That's a trap you can fall into. But I think that, and again, I'm just looking at my notes, and it's stimulating me to how I thought and felt when I was listening to this video. It almost felt like a spiritual purge, where like I was letting go of things and being open to new thoughts, new ideas. And remember, that's what stimulates a change, a paradigm shift, is we have to think new thoughts, new ideas. Otherwise, we're operating on the same old ideas and get the same old results. So if you never expose yourself to like new content, or like again, the repetition of the content that you know is or what you feel is truth, then you're kind of carrying all this baggage, this bad broken programming. So again, that's what we're really doing here in TIR, is learning how to let go of old beliefs that no longer serve us, and what's going to allow us to evolve into our higher selves. So it's almost like, for me, the other thing too is, having been a very physical person, not so much spiritual, but very physical, meaning my body, like my appearance. And I'm very cautious of my appearance. I'm very careful about going to the gym and what I put in my body. Like, I don't eat non-organic food or junk food. I think that one of the things we are not aware of is that the impact that negative thoughts and beliefs have on us is as much as effective and has a deep impact on our physical appearance and our well-being. You know, our attitude and our peace of mind is, like I said, is our thoughts. It's almost like mental food. So it's almost like I would watch my diet like a hawk because I created that habit. But that's a very physical thing. But it's almost like now I'm spiritually very cautious of who I spend time with, what I listen to as far as music, lyrics, you know, what I watch on TV, what I read, you know, what do I want going into here that, again, everything is going to be reflected in my outer reality. So I felt like you guys at some point along this journey might go through a very similar spiritual purge where you feel like I need to let go of the stuff I've been carrying, or I need to apologize to that person because I've been holding on to this and it's hurting me. And I know finally how to let go and what forgiveness is, or what ego is, or what God is, or what love is. And you're just like, oh my God, why didn't I know this before? Life would have been a lot more different. You know, I would have made different decisions. Like, that's kind of what this is for, is we're constantly learning at a higher level of awareness. Like, we're born completely ignorant. You know, and like I said, I realized, like, I'm 30 years old. It's like I didn't know what I knew at 20 and I couldn't possibly have. It took me a decade to collect that information. And I'm going to learn things at 40 that I didn't know now, you know, but that's the fun of it, you know. And it's like I said, sometimes it sucks. Sometimes in hindsight, you look back, you're like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I wouldn't have met that person. I wish I wouldn't have, you know, I wish I never would have went to school to be a nurse because it was a waste of time. Whatever, you know, I made decisions on the circumstances at the time. And they say never regret making a decision because at one time it was exactly what you wanted, but your desires change. Okay, so that's the thing that I wanted to get at is like it's a fatal mistake to pay attention to the food. And I'm sure a lot of people on here want to get to like an ideal weight. But it's a fatal mistake not to focus on the mind food. Okay, that's as important as the physical food you nourish your body that digests and breaks down and nourishes your physical being. But yet, like I said, we're a soul in this physical body. This physical body is just a house for that soul. You know, it's a reflection, again, of our mind. So, again, the other thing, too, is like if you're trying to release weight, it's not a matter of calories in, calories out. It's very much a mental game. And learning, you know, the mental game, you'll, you know, realize the body's an instrument of the mind. So just some tips, because I know we're all going to be developing New Year's resolutions, and you guys are kind of ahead of the game because you guys realize that January is not the only time you create goals. And you know that you're not going to fall through that January knowing doing gap that most people, they start off and then they kind of lose steam, and then their New Year's resolutions, you know, become old Year's resolutions. So, again, you know, one of the other things is especially understanding that, like, I realize I'm no longer one of the masses. Like we're of the 1%. We're the kind of people that question things and we act differently and we study, whereas most people are just like consuming and living and, you know, watching TV and just being programmed and just kind of like surviving, but they're not truly living. We're not really taught how to live. We're taught how to survive, and most of the time we're just chasing debt our whole lives and going and having kids without ever realizing, like, was that what I wanted? You know, but I think that the masses, they never question, they constantly conform, they don't evolve, you know, and that's what I'm saying is they just kind of stand still and slowly decay. And that's why, like, I can't bear to be around those types of people because they just don't understand. Like, there are going to be people in my life that are not as spiritually aligned as me. But again, it's learning how to communicate to people that aren't at your level is just something I've learned from. It's just an observation I made about, like I said, the people out there. You know, what are they doing and how do you live like that, like without really wanting more or better or whatever, you know. But it brought me back. I just have another one here. I said negative thoughts are just as destructive, if not more, than physical toxins. You know, and that's something I wrote about in my book, is that, like, if we're constantly putting ourselves down, you know, if you ever look at the snowflake or the water experiment, Dr. Emoto, or the rice experiment, is that, like, our physical voice, the sound and the vibrations can penetrate food or water and change the vibratory state of water. And that's why, like, why do we say grace? And why do we bless that food? Is because it's ultimately going to become the physical makeup of our body. So we want to put that food in a high vibration state and appreciate gratitude for it. Putting ourselves in a state of gratitude is putting ourselves in receiving mode for the good of the universe. Okay? So that was just a light bulb moment for me, because like I said, I was just so deep rooted in the physical, not realizing that the mental game of this all. But and that's not easy. Is that, like, what we're really dealing with here is the non-physical. Like, when you want to change something, like about your appearance, is like you can change it. It's tangible. But like I said, thoughts, feelings, vibrations, emotions are all non-physical. So that's the hard part of this, is like we're changing something we can't physically see, but it's developing what we call that mind's eye. You know what I mean? Like, where we're seeing something, again, we don't necessarily see things with our eyes. We see things through cells of recognitions through our mind, past experiences, okay? So newer and deeper truths tend to challenge those beliefs, and that's when you get what they call confirmation biases, that we tend to reject. We don't believe as truth because it disagrees with our current belief set. But like I said, you guys are learning that it's okay and it's safe to challenge your beliefs, because if they're not serving you, you got to learn to let them go. Okay, you've dragged a lot of this life experience, emotional baggage, not having known repressed emotions. And that's what I'm saying, is that TIR is just the beginning. It's really just opening your mind again, creating the habit of developing this habit of study, because you've got to create the foundation and the blueprint before you start building a house. You got to know what you're going to build and how to create it, and you can't put the roof on before you got the basic structure. And that's the thing, is we want to do things in an orderly fashion, and how do we bring order to this mind is through bringing an image to it. Who would have known? So I just want you guys to have a little bit more like encouragement that this is going to take some time, and that if you don't get to where you set out to get in 6 months, be patient. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not where I want to be yet. I've been at this for 2 years, but it's like I've learned a lot more in 2 years than most I've learned in a lifetime. And like I said, this is just going to help whatever book you read or whatever course you take or whatever, like I said, YouTube video I watched sink in, because I'm in receiving mode and I'm at a much better place to, like I said, have had an emotional impact, because I'm aware of what a paradigm is. I'm aware of things. Whereas 10, 20 years ago, I looked at myself, I was not aware. Or like my mom would tell me something and she's like, I kept telling you, I was like, oh, didn't hear you, couldn't comprehend that, could have told me if I was blue in the face. But sometimes we just have to learn things for ourselves for it to create a deep emotional impact for us to change. We see other people go through stuff and sometimes we don't learn from their lessons, but I just want you guys to learn from what I've shared tonight, and I hope that it's deeply emotionally impacted you, and it's again a change from the norm of what we're usually talking about. Kind of like indirectly realizing what TIR is for and what it's going to do for you, and that the big major win here is like you guys are positioning yourself to be in an alignment. Okay, that's really what this is like when you align yourself in harmony with what you desire, you can receive it. But if you're not in harmony, you push it away. It's like that magnetic concept. So I think that I've done enough talking, and I want to open it up for a discussion. So I'm going to unmute everybody. Actually, there's one more thing. Thanks for reminding me, Brian, is that the book that I recommend you guys read is called Atomic Habits.